Around 2 years ago, I started selling my furniture flips in a vintage booth. It just didn't work out for me, but it did give me an addiction to thrifting and collecting my little vintage finds. So over the past year, my storage unit has just been piling up. And when I found out about these vintage market days from my friend Melanie and how much money that she has made in these 3-day events.
With my first one in 3 days, I made $7,000.
What? I absolutely had to try it, especially because I needed to start clearing through some of the inventory in my storage unit. It's honestly just not really worth my effort to meet up with a bunch of people on Facebook Marketplace to sell like small $50 items, and I don't want to deal with the hassle of shipping. So I had the option of different size booths, and I ultimately decided to go with the 10 by 10 space, which is the smallest option that you can get for $250. Now, I really didn't have any perception of like how much stuff I could fit into a 10 by 10 comfortably, but it was a 3-day long event, so I didn't want to go bigger and then risk having a bunch of empty space and risk not having enough stuff to stock throughout the weekend. So I figured I would start small and just see how it goes. Genuinely, I had no idea how much furniture to bring or how much smalls to bring. So I basically just cleaned up a bunch of my stuff and packed out my 6x8 trailer and my Chevy Tahoe as full as I could and headed down to the market to set up. All right, we just got everything unloaded, and I think I brought the perfect amount of stuff. I did go back and forth with the idea of building walls and doing vinyl rollout flooring, and I'm so glad that I did not build the walls because it would have been such overkill for a 10 by 10 space. And I did actually have the vinyl flooring cut out for my space, but once we saw the dirt floor of the venue, I realized that it would just be tracking a bunch of dirt everywhere, and I would be needing to like broom throughout the whole market, and it just was a no-go. I'm very glad that I didn't end up putting the vinyl flooring down and just laid a rug down instead. And as far as the walls, I just set up my 10 by 10 tent and hung some curtains I got off of Amazon, which ended up looking so much better than I expected, and even Mom approved. I found that it was super easy to just hang them up by feeding a bungee cord through them and lining it across the walls. And this kind of covered up a lot of the framing on the tent, so it looked really nice. And I wasn't really sure if I was gonna need like an actual checkout stand, but I kind of DIY'd a little one out of 3 crates at the very last minute, like the week of the market, and I'm so glad that I did because that gave me somewhere to put paper to wrap people's things and just like my personal items and my purse, and it was definitely essential to have that there. Overall, the setup took around 4 hours with 3 people. Honestly, faster than I thought it would be. I'm kind of thinking this over here and then the bookshelf right here, so people walking in can see all the smalls and shop them right here. But I think that the bookshelf here and then the clothes rack right here at the front. Or we could angle that out. We could do this. We could put that in here and then put the chair and the nightstand next to the lamp and make a little walk easily. I think that's too far back. Yeah, too far back.
Pick it up,
Folding it
put it
over.
against this wall.
What do you
Keep it like folded like that.
Yeah, that might look good because that goes on this. Ooh, this lamp's gonna sell quick. Why? That one's gonna sell quick.
This one almost looks good on the dark one.
Yeah,
I like the dark center though.
because I just like it. It's big, but it's gonna block. What else? Yeah. Maybe that one might have to be for display only. by the time we got everything set up, I could see it all coming together, and I just am absolutely so happy with the way that my booth turned out. But there are improvements that could be made, and I'll talk about that later in the video. So the morning of day one, I was still finishing up pricing things from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. when the early entry started, and I could not have been prepared for what happened at 9 a.m. because people literally started flooding into the doors so quick, and the panic set in. I really was shocked at the turnout of this event and couldn't be more happy with it. Everybody just started piling in, and I'm so nervous, but I already made one sale. So people keep coming up to the coat rack and not coming into the space. And I'm wondering if it's a little too closed off, but I don't know if the clothes is just popular because it's like an easy grab item or because it's where I have it placed. It's still a little early to tell though. It's only been 20 minutes, and from 9 to 10 is early entry. So at 10 o'clock is when people start actually rolling in. So day one is over, and it was absolute chaos. I haven't even had a chance to stop and record or even see any of the market besides the inside of my own booth because I'm on the corner. But I sold so many smalls. So right now I'm just restocking the shelves, and hopefully I'll sell a piece of furniture tomorrow because no furniture sold today. Lots of smalls, almost all of my clothes and handbags. One thing I will note on day one is that I didn't have my mom or anybody to come and visit me, so there was no downtime at all. Like, it was busy the whole day of the market, so I really had no time to just go walk around or talk to people or even get food. So in the future, I think this would be better with two people or like partnering up with a friend, because it's a lot to be there all day and not have a single break to go and eat something. Now, the crazy thing about day one is it was like the day of clothing. I had a clothing rack in the front, and for some reason, everybody was stopping and shopping the clothing rack. And by the end of the day, it was pretty much all gone. I have a hypothesis is because there weren't very many vintage clothing vendors. Actually, I don't think there were any vintage clothing vendors at the market. So the little bits that were in some of the vintage booths, I think just really got hit up. And I ended up selling like completely out of clothes on day one, but I did not sell any furniture. On day one, I really just sold a lot of small stuff, clothing, purses, picture frames, brass, baskets, resulting in a total sales of $729 on day one. But like I said, this market definitely would have been more ideal if I had another person with me, because I did not have a minute to stop and eat all day. I mean, in fact, the whole week leading up to the market, I really had no time to do anything because it was just so busy, which is why I'm really glad that I had today's sponsor, Good Shop, show up at my door on Friday. This means that I did not have to stop prepping for the market to go to the grocery store. Good Shop saves me both time and money by delivering quality meat cuts that don't cost a fortune, all of which are sourced right here in the United States, supporting local family farms. I love having a variety of protein options on hand at all times to whip up a variety of meals, from something fancy like fajitas or something quick and simple this week like spaghetti. If you also want to skip the grocery store and avoid buying questionable meat, go to goodshop.com/YouTube and use code FLIPPED130 or click the link in the caption below for $130 off across your first 4 boxes. That's goodshop.com/YouTube and code FLIPPED130. Now, because day one I sold so much of my small stuff, I ended up going back to the storage unit afterwards so that I would have more the next morning to restock with stuff. So all the vendors kept telling me how Saturday is going to be so much busier than Friday, which is crazy because Friday was so busy. But I was worried that I wouldn't do as well on Saturday as I did on Friday because I had already sold through all of my smalls inventory and the whole clothing rack. Nonetheless, I had some more stuff to bring in, and the turnout was there, you guys. Okay, this is the reset that I did last night, and this is all I have. So, oh, that doesn't go there. I'm hoping that I do not have to bring a lot of stuff home tomorrow. If it's looking really empty, I'll go and get a few things out of storage, but I really, really don't want to have to bring anything home. Well, I know I'm gonna have to bring things home, but all this furniture. I'm gonna call day 2 the day of the lamps and the egg trays. Melanie told me in our interview that egg trays sold really well, and I had 5 of them in my booth. None of them sold on Friday. All 5 of the egg trays sold on Saturday, as well as 5 lamps, which is crazy. That's a lot of lamps to sell in one day. And then I did make my first furniture sale, which was just my little end table for $100. And I sold the rest of my clothing and purses, giving me a total revenue on day 2 of $912. Even though I only sold one little furniture piece, I will say that that tiger oak chest I had in the middle was getting so much attention. I was having people take photos of it and take my card, but nobody was biting on it. But I had a good feeling that it would still sell. So I was just being patient. But my hypothesis kind of is that not as many people were coming into my booth because it was kind of closed off. Like, I did not anticipate the crowds to be like they were. And I think it would have been ideal if I had a bigger booth so like multiple groups of people could shop it at once, because I would find if there was already 1 or 2 people in my booth, like nobody was going to come in and they were just going to keep walking on. So I think that that could have made a negative impact in my sales. But nonetheless, I mean, this is still going great so far for a first market. On day 3, which was Sunday, it was definitely a lot calmer. All right, today is day 3, and I did not get the memo that the market starts an hour later, so the gates were locked. But I'd rather be early than late. I've sold no furniture yet, and I'm kind of considering marking some of the pieces down a little bit and posting on Facebook Marketplace to tell people that I'm there, because I really don't want to have to load it all back up. I think that my furniture is priced a bit higher than everything else there, and honestly, I'm just not willing to come down hundreds of dollars on my furniture when I know that I can stage it and sell it for that price on Facebook Marketplace. So I will load it back up if I have to. Reset, restock, and I marked a couple prices down, so we're gonna see if it moves. Brought some more lamps in. Brought some crystal today. Some little Coca-Cola glasses. We'll see how we do. I just remembered before it starts, I wanted to go buy this drawer thingy for my friend who has an antique mall that I've been to before. Here's his space over here. There it is. These are so good for styling furniture. All right, today's definitely gonna be slower, which is nice because I can kind of relax a little bit. But I got this cool idea. Well, actually my mom had and grandma had this idea, but like if we had the YouTube video of me restoring that piece, like playing on a little camera, on a little like photo frame display. And I actually think it would be a better idea to have the clips of the before videos running, because I mean you could clearly see the after. Just so like when people can walk up to that buffet, they can see how bad it was before. I think it's just kind of cool, and it might draw a little bit more attention to my booth. And I honestly could have like a QR code for people to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So I think I'm gonna do that for the next market, because this market has been fun. I ended up selling through the rest of my lamps that I had brought in originally the first and second day, but I did bring a couple other lamps that morning that did not sell, and I think the key factor was that they didn't have shades. That's my hypothesis. I think that the convenience of already having the shade there and being able to visualize it helps the lamps sell. And then finally, in the last hour of the market, the last 40 minutes of the market, and I finally sold it. I had somebody come back up who had been considering the tiger oak chest and decide to buy it. I bought this tiger oak chest as is. It was in such excellent condition for $50 from Goodwill. I polished it up with some Howard's Feed and Wax, and I sold it for $450. So that was such a win, and it just kind of like made the whole market for me, because it ended me up on day 3 with a revenue of $1,010, being my best day because of the furniture sale. So furniture definitely plays a big role into it, and I just think that the fall market might not be as good for furniture sales as the spring, because a lot of people are like looking for Christmas gifts and just thinking about the holidays and not so much about refurnishing their home. So I am really curious to see how furniture sales would be in the spring compared to the fall. Now, I've given you some hints as to what sold in the market. There's been some pretty clear overall best sellers that I noticed at the market and that I will be preparing to bring more of at the next market. Number 1 for the fall market was my clothing rack and purses. I think that these are just such an impulse buy, and I had them priced at such a fair price point. They just flew off the shelf, and I sold every single purse that I had in my booth. I don't know if it would be like this in the spring as well, or if people are just more likely to purchase jackets and things like that in the fall because they're getting excited for the season change. The egg trays, like Melanie said, completely sold out of all 5 of my egg trays. And then all my small art frames sold really quickly, and even my big gold mirror sold. That made up for a big chunk of the sales, as well as baskets. I think I sold all but like 1 basket that was in my booth, because I just priced them to sell from like $5 to $30 a basket, depending on, the size and quality. But the number 1 thing that sold the best in my booth, like better than anything else, was the lamps. I sold like all of my lamps. And I'm kind of sad about it because I loved some of those lamps, except for the couple that I brought without shades on Sunday morning to just kind of restock my booth. I mean, I'm going to have a lot of lamps if I do another market. So all in all, I sold 9 lamps for $445. And every single lamp that I sold had a shade with it, or it was like a desk lamp that has a glass shade. And I really think that that plays into why my lamps sold so well, because people could visualize what it was going to look like. So I think having a shade helps. And actually, a couple of the lamps in my booth, I did not even thrift the lamp and the shade together. Like I found the shade, and I just had a crap ton of lamps already stocked up in my storage unit that I just paired up the ones that I thought looked best together, and it worked out. The big ceramic lamp with the Empire shade, I bought the shade for $10, and the lamp I think can't remember if it was $5 or $10. But then I sold it for $80. And then the brass lamp with the green shade, I think I spent $20 on that, and I sold that one for $65, I believe. The tan Tiffany style desk lamp, I sold that one for $75, which I think was very fair. So it's a great medium-sized item to make a quick profit on. So all in all, the profit from this market was $729 on Friday, $912 on Saturday, $1,010 on Sunday. So the revenue was $2,651. And then for my expenses, I paid $250 for the booth, $35 for electric, $15 for the porter service, which I still have some of the tickets left because I didn't sell that much furniture. And then I'll say I spent about $50 on gas going from my storage unit to the fairgrounds back and forth, so minus another $50. And then I'm not going to calculate the price of the tent or the curtains into this because I'm going to be reusing those. So for future markets, and I'm actually going to set up the curtains in my storage unit as another staging wall so that I can just list things in my storage unit really quick on Facebook Marketplace. But just for your knowledge, I've had that tent and it's about $100 tent, $150 tent. And then I spent about $150 on the curtains because I bought double the length that I actually needed because I wanted them to look really full and flowy. So I bought 14 panels of curtains. I spent about $50 building my checkout stand and making my little sign with the Cricut machine. But I'm not going to add those into the cost of the market because those are things that I already had or I'm going to keep using for my furniture business regardless. That brings me to $2,301. But then we have inventory cost, which genuinely I have no idea how much I paid for all of these items because I have been just hoarding them over the last year. I mean, I could say that on average, my inventory cost is about a quarter of what I sell it for. So I'm going to calculate that as about a quarter of the cost just to kind of consider what the profit was here because my total profit before taking inventory costs out was $2,301. So we're going to average out the cost of inventory at around $575. And I think that that's being generous because I don't think I actually spent that much money on that inventory. So that would give me around a profit of $1,726, again, as an estimate. But I would say that that's pretty good for a 3-day market, considering that I really didn't sell much of my furniture besides the one big Empire chest that I didn't even refinish. So all in all, I have quite a few lessons and key takeaways from this market. Number one being that it gets packed with people. So you're probably better off getting a bigger booth space than you think you need so that people can walk in and shop comfortably. I think that my booth looked staged really nice, but overall it was a little bit too tight. There's a lot of psychology that goes into this, and I realized that when every time I would push a new item up to that front left corner where I originally had the clothes rack, the item would sell. Clothes were there, the clothes rack sold out. I moved the end table there, the end table sold. I moved a magazine rack, the magazine rack sold. Every time I put something out in the front of my booth, it would sell. So that kind of right off the rip tells me that my stuff needs to be more visible and more accessible. But nonetheless, I still had a lot of people in my booth and I'm really happy with the sales that I made having such a small space. The other thing I really want to note and emphasize is that it's hard to do this market by yourself. Like there is no way I could have, I mean there is a way. I could have set it up all by myself and I could have taken it up all by myself, but it would have taken me like 5 times longer. So having my mom and Tori help me set it up, and then I had my dad and my stepmom Jerusa help me pack everything up, made it so much easier. And I think it would have been really hard to do it on my own. So if you don't have family members to help you, you also now have to consider the price of having somebody come out and help you. Being alone just didn't allow me to really enjoy and experience the market and like getting to talk with other vendors and talk with customers more and just walk around and use the restroom. So if I do this again, I think it would be in my best interest to partner up with somebody, and or even if my booth was just like right next to Melanie's, so that, you know, if I have to run to the bathroom, she can cover the space, or if she has to run to the bathroom, I can cover her space. So that is something I will definitely consider for the next one. Another thing is that I noticed the customers love to hear the story and like where you found stuff. So I think it would be really cool for me to set up like some sort of like digital photo frame showing like the befores of my furniture, or like running the YouTube video of me refinishing the furniture in the background so people can see the story of where the piece came from. And it makes me wonder if it would help sell it faster because you could see the transformation. I think that is just really special and a lot of people appreciate that. So I think next time I'm going to do that, as well as have some sort of QR code where people can see my YouTube channel and subscribe. Because at the end of the day, these markets aren't just for selling, they're also for building connections and meeting people in the industry and meeting potential future customers or subscribers. So I think there's a lot more to gain from these markets than just the monetary payout. but that is a plus because I do think this was a very successful market for being a first timer with just a little 10 by 10 booth. And finally, the last takeaway I have from items that sell really well at the market are medium-sized items. I would not overlook the medium-sized items. And what do I mean by that? Smalls is the term for things like, the little knickknacks and brass items and cups and glasses. And then the big items are like furniture. But my real money came from the medium-sized items. Lamps and coat racks, magazine racks, and large mirrors and large pictures, because you can charge more for those and they're a bit easier of an impulse buy than a piece of furniture because it's easier to find somewhere to put it in your home. Because all in all, I made almost as much money in lamps as I did my furniture. And then likewise, like the big mirrors, you can charge $100, $150 for those. And I mean, that's really a good profit margin on those medium-sized items. And there was a vendor next to me that hand built these custom wood shelves. They were super simple, and she had them priced around like $42, but those things were flying off the shelf. Like, people were just buying them up. They loved those little handmade shelves. And the one little coat rack that I actually made from scrap wood and old furniture knobs, that was the second thing to sell in my booth. I mean, I only had a few like wall hanging shelves and coat racks in my booth, and they all sold, and they sold for a good price. So I think that I will probably honestly batch out more of those coat racks for future markets because people loved them for some reason. Every person I saw walking past me with a little buggy had a freaking bookshelf. And I was like, just little ones, like little bookshelves. I'm like, they're so easy to make. I can make like 50 bookshelves and make so much money. Bookshelves and lamps, man. I feel like I've been on like a ramble, but there's just so much information to take in from this market, and my brain is buzzing with ideas. It was a lot of fun, and I think it was really successful. And honestly, there is just something so magical and beautiful about seeing all of your things that you've collected come together, and then people coming out and appreciating it, and like just appreciating the work that you've done and items that you've curated. And it was so nice to get to meet everybody and make new friends. And I think I'm gonna sign up for another market, you guys. And I hope you do too, because it was a lot of fun and I made a decent buck, and I think it is very scalable. If you really bring enough stuff and you're efficient, I think that this is a really scalable business model. And Vintage Market Days was a success.